It's May bank holiday weekend at the end of May, Saturday the 28th, and 2011. I'm going to be out for 2 nights, so that's Saturday night and tomorrow Sunday night. So I'm going to be out for 3 days, so I just thought I'd show you how I kitted out the canoe. It was really heavy actually for this weekend. So I've got the inflatable pump that's in there, my shelter kit in there, in this rucksack, first aid kit, a few bits and pieces, torch, headlamp, catapult, and in here I've got all my food and 4 litres of water. What I decided to bring this time was a 10-litre collapsible container, but I've actually brought some tap water from home because I could procure water. If there's an emergency, I've got my millbank bag which I can filter the water, then boil it. So I decided to bring enough water, plus as well I want to have a wash, a nice watery wash, besides using the old cleansing wipes. So I thought I'd bring that. So of course that's about a good 20 pound in weight, because that's just under 10 litres of water. And then in this rucksack here, that was very kindly given to me by my nephew, who's just retired from the paratroop regiment, and this was one of his day bags. So he gave that to me a couple of months ago, so I'm using this today, and in there is my bed kit and my inflatable mat for sleeping, and also a change of clothes. So basically this was quite a load. And also, as you can see, it's quite breezy. I think you can mostly hear the wind. So all the romantic paddling on the rivers, you know, all nice and tranquil, it weren't like that getting in. There was crosswinds because the River Thames, where I've actually come along, it sort of meanders round for about 1.5 miles, which doesn't actually seem much when you're on foot, but when you're paddling and there's a crosswind coming from northwest, and it cuts across and it kicks the stern of the canoe, and then it kicks the bow, and you're moving backwards and forwards. And basically, if you could do, I don't know, 45-minute aerobics come circuit class without getting out of breath, and you're fit enough to do that, then what I did to get here this afternoon, you'd be able to do. But if you could anticipate getting out of breath and feeling pretty tired after doing even 15-20 minutes of, I don't know, sort of an exercise class. The reason I say that is because I used to be a personal trainer and I used to teach those classes for about 15 years. So luckily enough I was fit enough to do it, otherwise the wind would have been blowing me backwards and forwards all over the place. And being an inflatable, because the beam of the canoe, this is the beam here, is reasonably sort of like flat, not flat, but it's just slightly curved. So if you imagine, that's the hull of the inflatable canoe, but normally hard shells are a little bit more what you might call convex, will actually protrude into the water more. So of course in a hard shell canoe it's easier to track on the water, so where you paddle the canoe's going to go. But obviously with an inflatable, the manoeuvrability is a little bit different. Anyway, I'm going to crack dry sack there. It's 100 litre. It's got all my any change of clothing, my sleep kit, sleeping bag, softy trousers, softy jacket, and then in here is all my food. Shelter kit was there, and I'm just going to lay the ground sheet now and then knock up some food. Ground sheet, enough space for me to sleep on this main part, the main 2/3, then on this side to put bits of kit. But when you lay the ground sheet, as you're most probably aware, underneath the tarp is always have it slightly inside, so where the drop fall is, if it does rain and the water comes down, by just missing, it goes straight into the ground, whereas if the tarp came right up to the edge in line with the tarp, then obviously the water's going to drip on the tarp. You've seen this bag before. It's my shelter kit, so I've got a clip-ons, bundle of clip-ons there if I need them. Different lengths of paracord that I know are specific to setting up the shelter, so they're already pre-measured. I'll have my bungee cords in there as well. Bit of camo netting. That's the shelter I'll use if it does rain to put over the fire. Ground sheet was folded up in that bag, and so also was the tarp. All in there in my kit bag for my shelter. You'd have seen this pack before as well on my cook kits, parts 1 to 4. I've got in here saucepan and also the kettle, stainless steel kettle, and also my one-man stove. But I actually kept this separate. Sometimes I'll put this in there, but for one reason or another I kept this separate, connected those together, and then just hooked it and put it straight in, so it's like a handle, although I've got a big longer strap for that if I want to put it over my shoulder. If you've seen parts 1 to 4 of the cook kits and trail food cooking apparatus, you've seen this little bag. So what I brought with me is a lid for the saucepan, that's the kettle, turn it upside down, there's the lid, there's a little handle that springs on there, and of course the saucepan's in here with the folding handles, so that folds up. But the kettle, this is just a bit of revision really, this kettle came in this bag, and then when I got these saucepans, there's a smaller one that fits in here but I don't use it, so it's just this one and that with a lid and that kettle. And I was hoping when I got this kettle I'd sort of taken some measurements. Obviously that fits in, the lid goes in there, and everything fits in that bag. So once that's zipped up, I can have in this bag little mini frying pan, that saucepan and kettle. Okay, I've got my PU coated heavy duty dry bag. It's just over 100 litres it holds. I'm just going to pack away my breathable jacket, waterproof jacket, army issue PU coated, really heavy duty and durable. These are great for when you're out canoeing in the bush. They're not that breathable, but they're really heavy duty and they've really served me well. Softy trousers, I didn't wear those last night in bed when I was asleep. The Tropical Army sleeping bag, my mattress rolled up, micro fleece towel if I need it, fleece that I wore when I was asleep, dog coat and hat, and basically put the heaviest things that I don't actually need or that won't need access to at the bottom, and sort of spread it out so that when I roll it up it's a nice shape and compact, sort of more lengthways rather than round, so it actually fits in the canoe. So I'm going to pack all that away now. Okay, that's where I was, LNT, leave no trace. Just briefly, before I set off, the majority of the weight obviously is going to be in the back end because where I sit, but the front end, to try and balance it out, considering I didn't actually bring my gravity water feed treatment bag with me yesterday, I just brought about, I think it was about 7 litres of water, which was a bit of a weight to carry, but of course I wasn't trekking, so it didn't matter. It went in the canoe. So it was in there with my Trangia stove, all my food, so that bag must have weighed about, I don't know, about 12-15 kilos. With the inflatable pump that's rolled up in the bag and the bit of tarp there and what have you, so the heavier stuff here, and then of course the dog's there. So to sort of balance it out, otherwise what will tend to happen is the stern will come back down and you'll have a bit of a tilt up, and of course the bow of the canoe will be a little bit unbalanced. So sort of trying to distribute the weight all the way along. I'm going to now make a move. So I've just tethered up on this branch, long bungee, down to the handle, and in the back, in that green bag, is the inflatable pump and a couple of other bits and pieces, knee pads, gaiters, little green bag, cook kit, just a little bit of water, just in case I wasn't going to procure it. And then this end, just there, shelter kit, ground sheet, tarp for the fire pit and tarp for living space, food, and in the dry bag, sleep kit, softy trousers, softy jacket, 2-season Tropical Army sleeping bag, and a new inflatable mattress, which is about 2:30 in the afternoon. LNT, leave no trace. That's where the fire pit was. I'm just standing on it now. There's a bit of discoloration where I've scraped the soil back. Canoe packed up. All was food and cooking utensils and what have you. Sleep kit, softy trousers, sleeping bag, all the shelter kit in there, and trolley and other bits and pieces. Okay, so we've moored up, and what I'm just going to quickly recap. The last video I did, I included some of the how I distributed the kit in the canoe, but I mean it's stating the obvious really. I mean it's exactly the same as what I featured last time. In the front, just there is the kit, shelter kit. In there is food and bits of EDC, and in the dry bag is any extra little bits of clothes I need, and obviously my sleep kit. But obviously that space at the front, that area there, is obviously heavier kit than maybe what I've got at the back here, which is the inflation pump, a folding seat, the cook kit and some water and the seat, and obviously me here. So obviously I want as much weight as possible distributed at the front so it counterbalances my weight, but obviously I've got to have stuff in the back as well and utilise that space. So it's obviously the stuff that fits in there safely and effectively, and the lightest stuff in comparison to the heavier stuff at the front. So I thought I'd just verify that, because I have been getting sort of messages about or questions about, you know, sort of how I load the canoe, but it's sort of distributing the weight properly really. But I have included it in videos in the past, but I thought I'd just sort of re-specify some of the aspects behind it. My preference to actually sort of stack in my kit, because I'm right-handed, of course, here's my right hand, hi. It's then easier for me to get stuff that I might need, or as a main prerequisite, I keep it to the right hand side because it's easier to get to. I mean, this is my sleep kit in here, so I won't be getting that, and some extra bit of clothes, and this is stuff that's not urgent. So I can leave that to the left, whereas if this is something I'm going to keep getting to, and so will these little items here, if they're to the left and stuff I'm not going to use is to the right, then my arm's sort of going in between. So it's better, I personally think, for me, I prefer to work it where if I'm right-handed, stuff that I actually need I keep to the right, so then I can actually work out to the right as I'm taking stuff out, because nothing is in the way. Bit pedantic, I know, but just it's nice to be organised, and I can sort of do this blindfolded. I always know exactly the type of kit I have, where it's going to go in the canoe, exactly in the same places. And then also when I set out my ground sheet and unbash it up, everything always goes in the same place. So where everything is sort of blindfold basically, so it's just keeping a lookout for what you're doing, and also knowing where everything is on the ground level, so that everything is safe, so that nothing causes... Take stuff out from eye level, so that you know, nothing can sort of protrude or be dangerous, because you never know what you might get actually stuck in parts of your anatomy. So, you know, be out there and be safe. Okay, just on a quick, very crude cover, folding up the tarps that I used for the ground sheet, which is folded up and just bungee corded on the fixings. But you'll notice the hook of the bungee. It's advisable, instead of hooking it in, it's always good to hook it outwards like that, so then the flat piece of metal is actually not protruding. If that hook was round the other way, this end would be sticking into the side of the canoe. So that's just a advisable thing to do if you were going to consider doing it. You'll notice hook's on the outside, hook end is on the outside, and it's the same that side. At the moment the rain's not that heavy, but I've got about an hour's paddling to do, so you know, if it does get heavier, then at least I'm sort of protected as best as possible against the water. Admittedly, I haven't got this area covered here, because obviously I'm going to sit. I could have something over my legs, but of course the dog's got to sit there as well. But normally this area gets a little bit damp, because the paddle blades, when you're scooping to paddle sort of backwards and forwards, it does drip water onto the side. So I'd get a little bit of water on the side there anyway. But I will in the near future actually be making special canopies to actually go, or covers that are tailor-made and manoeuvrable for either side, and then maybe have one that comes here so the dog can stick her head through it, so only her head gets wet. I'll have to get her a smaller version of one of these hats. Anyway, I'm going to shoot the canoe in now. It's going to be quite heavy, so I've got to do it really carefully, and I'll see you eventually when I'm on the water. Okay, I'm safely in, and follow that boat. And as usual, whenever I've camped out somewhere, always leave the place as you find it. So that's where the tarp and basher was, and you wouldn't have known I was here. Just have a little view up here next to the field that is the farmland and meadows and what have you, just on this side of the river. And there's the Chiltern Hills, all the way over on the horizon on the other side of the trees. So going back down this little fisherman's path, but I've cleared up the scorched earth where the fire was. And Karsh, now you want to go in the canoe, yeah? Do you want to go in the canoe? Go on in you go. Good girl.